Okay, so here's video 2 on completing the square. The assignment here says complete the square to solve for x. Okay? Remember, step 1 is to get c right here on the right side. So I'm going to subtract 63 from both sides. And so I have x squared minus 16x, leave a space, equals negative 63. Okay, now step 2 is to put something in this blank right here. And I told you in the last video, the thing that always goes in that blank is b over 2 squared. Okay, so b over 2 squared is negative 16 over 2 squared. Okay, so that's negative 16 over 2 is negative 8, and negative 8 squared is 64. So what I'm going to do is I am going to add 64 on both sides. You can't just add it on one side. What you do to the left of an equation, you must also do to the right. Now when you do that, you have x squared minus 16x plus 64 equals, and negative 63 plus 64 is 1. Okay? So now you have completed the square, but this is not in the same format as what they want right here, completed the square format. So what you have to do is you have to factor x squared minus 16x plus 64, which means you're going to write it in two binomials. So I've got a binomial here and a binomial here, and it equals 1. X times x equals x squared. Now, you completed the square, which means this trinomial is always going to be a perfect square trinomial. So you're looking for what is the square root of 64? It's 8, right? And so 8 times 8 times 8 does equal 64, but now you need to pick out your signs. Notice that I need this to be a negative 16, so I need these both to be negative, and here's why. Negative 8 plus negative 8 does equal negative 16, and negative 8 times negative 8 does equal positive 64, so you factored it correctly. All right, now, we said in the last video, 3 times 3 is the same thing as 3 squared. Okay? Because that's true, it's also true that x minus 8 times x minus 8 is the same thing as x minus 8 all squared equals 1. Right? X minus 8 times x minus 8, this times this is the same thing as x minus 8 squared. Now, how do we solve this equation right here where this is squared? How do we get rid of that squared? Well, we square root both sides, because the opposite of squared is square root. Say it. The opposite of squared is square root. Square root both sides. And so I have x minus 8 equals, the square root of 1 is 1, but the square root of 1 is also negative 1, so I have to rewrite it x minus 8 equals negative 1. Remember, the square root of 1 is not just 1, it's also negative 1. And so now I'm going to add 8 on both sides, and so x equals 9, and I'm going to add 8 on both sides here, and so x equals 7. So those are my two answers, 9 and 7. Now let's fill in our blanks up here in the problem. See these blanks right here? What goes in this blank right here? Well, that blank is this form. So in that blank, I'm going to put a negative 8, because you can see the negative 8 right there. And right here I'm going to put a 1. So I've filled out the completing the square form. And now my two solutions we said are 9 and 7. And so in this blank I'm going to put a 9, and in this one I'm going to put a 7. And so I'm done. I wrote it in complete the square form and wrote both solutions.